So, guys, had a little catch up there with Bailey Heinrich. Yeah, he's coming into LS Sprint Cars. Can't wait to see him get into it. He presents his gear absolutely beautifully, like top notch. As we get into it, you'll hear like throughout his business and his training and stuff like that. As a panel beater, it's all about cleanliness and having stuff labelled and ready to go. So yeah, they're a pretty top tier operator. So yeah, can't wait to see him get into it. And yeah, I know he's a gasser as well. So yeah, should be good. And yeah, can't wait to see him get in the track. So yeah, hope you like this chat that we have, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And we're up.
Beautiful.
Bailey, mate, thanks for your time. I know you're busy. You got your businesses running and you got young family and everything. Appreciate it.
That's all good. Thanks for having me on here. So yeah, it's all good.
So the LS Sprint Car, you've got it up, it's running, ready to go.
Yeah, we had a big weekend in the shed 2 weekends ago now. So yeah, it's all running. It's been sitting there since before Christmas, so we've sort of just stripped everything back and put it all into a new car. It's all in a new Triple X tall cage. So obviously, because I'm a bit taller than the last guy, so yeah, it's all ready to go. Been itching to fire it, so we fired it up, and yeah, it's all sitting there ready to go. So we're just sort of waiting for a practice now to be able to go to, and yeah, turn some laps, and then sort of get motoring when the season starts.
So for people that don't know either, you're not new to Speedway. You've raced streeties before and you've been around.
Yeah, been around and I suppose done a bit. So yeah, you sort of started doing the street stocks. That's what obviously my dad he was doing in the 90s, and then Reese obviously then followed in his footsteps, and then sort of that's all I sort of knew. So we ended up doing that, and then yeah, it's just sort of got to the point where I suppose it was sort of looking away about getting out of Speedway or doing something different. So obviously the streety numbers sort of dwindled out a little bit, and then obviously, I just love the competitive sort of racing, whether it's in, wingless or, hopefully the sprint cars. The LS deal, I think, give it 18 months is going to be, I think there'll be 25 at the track every week. So that's sort of what I love. If you can, you'd be running fifth with 25 cars, I'm, happy with that rather than winning compared to, beating 10 cars. I love the competitiveness of racing, and I suppose that's why we started doing the wingless thing, because there's so many of them, and hopefully this LS sort of deal in SA grows as it has in other states.
Yeah, I think it's already got the roots sort of showing through of you've got a wingless and you know how competitive the SA wingless stuff is. I can see it's already been laid out that the LS stuff's going to be pretty similar in SA as well, I think.
Yeah, I agree, and that's I suppose that's the thing, is the people that are at the higher end of wingless. I don't think honestly there's much price difference in probably doing it. You're going to burn maybe a little bit more methanol a night, and you're going to bolt wings on the car, but you get the top 20 or 30 wingless across the states, and drivers and car setups and crews. They've already got big haulers to haul their gear. They've got enough spares to rebuild a car. They've already got the infrastructure there to obviously, then go on and do the LS deal. Whether they want to or not, it's a different thing. But you can already see it in SA that, the bigger teams and the guys with the experience are, they're going to doing it, so, and it's still going to be a grassroots sort of sport, I guess, and a footstep, and a stepping stone to the 410 deal. I mean, a good wingless is probably going to be just as much as, an LS car now. So I think the price is probably the most appealing thing. Some people love them, some people hate them, but I just, the crowd, you say sprint car and they're there, aren't they? So, and I think honestly, that's a boost that SA Speedway needs, to be able to get more cars out there. And if this is a way of doing it, like I said, give it 12 months. And I think, if you review where it's at now to where it's going to be, I think there's going to be so many more people on the bandwagon for sure.
Yeah, well, I went through the list today, and there's 10 new sprint cars coming to SA, and they're all LS motors. So,
yeah, that's huge. I mean, you've got probably the list in front of you. I don't know what the total list in sprint cars is. I mean, there might only be 25 in the state or 30 in the state, but like you've just said, you've got 10 new ones this year, and then once they're motoring and a few Vic guys travel across and vice versa, how many more are going to be there next year? I think people just got to see them on track and see what it's like to then go, yeah, I want to be a part of that. I mean, at the moment it's a bit of a gamble, but look at every other state; they're motoring well and truly.
Yeah, yeah. I think once we sort of get the foundation set, and
Yeah.
obviously get a few more shows for you guys as well. It's always hard because obviously 410s are always going to be a big thing. Like you know they're the Formula One of Speedway, and you're never going to get away from that, and deservingly so as well.
Oh, and that's the thing, you never want to take the shine away from the 410 because, like I said, this is still you still want it to be that sort of budgetable deal and that stepping stone to 410s. But I think this is actually going to be a way of doing it. A good 360 motor is probably still on par with what a good a mediocre 410 is. So I think this, engine package, I've heard most of the guys have spent between 25 and 35 grand ready to go. A good wingless motor now, you're probably looking, bolt in the car, if it's all new and built by someone, probably 15 to 20. So depending on what you do and what you got. So really, I look at it and I think the high end guys in the wingless are going to go and do it. They don't have to sell their car and buy another one because they can just swap the motor out because it's so, it's got good parts on it. It's got all the good gear on it. So that's the way I sort of, and honestly, that's how we've sort of done it. Our cars are all interchangeable. They're just motors are different. Everything's it's interchangeable. And hey, hopefully, maybe 12 months down the track, we can phase out the wingless stuff and sit back and have just a sprint car there or whatever. So just see what it does. At the moment, we just want to do the racing we can, obviously in both, just to get laps. That's a crucial thing for us is time in seat. Really is. I think that's key in any motorsport.
So currently, you're going to run the wingless and the sprint car this season.
Yeah, that's our plan. So, obviously, in I think it's 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks time, we're off to Darwin to do. We got a month and a half of racing planned up there in the wingless, so 8 nights. That's just purely we've been ready to go for sort of the last month with the wingless car. The LS car has been pretty well the same. I just want time in the seat. I want to be able to come back here and just get some more notes and develop our packages and just be comfortable. It's a big thing, I think personally. Build the notebook, and then obviously, as different as they are, I haven't driven an LS sprint car or a sprint car, but there's got to be some similarities. If you're comfortable in one, and you know what your shocks do, and you know what your bars do, and how they handle. Yeah, to a degree, they are a similar sort of. You're dealing with the same equipment, I suppose, if that it makes any sense. But it's just time in seat. That's where confidence is built, I suppose. And like I said, the sprint car's a whole new learning game for us, and a curve for us. But same thing, I just want to be able to do what we can. We've sort of penciled in a few of the big wingless shows. Hopefully, we want to do a fair bit of the LS stuff. Obviously, that's going to be, where we're going to spend a lot of our focus, but we still, to get the laps and, if there's a spell of, I've looked at the calendar in SA, I think there's a few spells where there's a month off. Well, at least we can jump in the wingless and, go and do a show or two between or whatever.
Yeah. And then probably like, the good thing is with at least 10 new guys into the class, like you're all at the same level of learning and everything like that. And yeah, hopefully we could just see some good racing and not everyone get
Yeah, I think,
sheep
yeah,
stations.
I think that's going to be the thing is like the people that are into it. I think everyone's sort of a tight knit group at the moment. They're happy to help each other. They're happy to pass on. No one's gonna, no one's gonna race the cars around Murray Bridge or Wyler or wherever we're going to be racing. So everyone's going to be happy to share a bit of info. And I know a few of us guys are talking flat out now. Like Bronson and Jack, and even like Luke Squires with Brownie's crew and that. We're all talking about stuff now, and just we all want to, we're all going there to do the same thing. But I think if that's a thing, people that look in at, the 10 or 12 that are going to be doing it now and they are comfortable to ask questions. We're not going to know everything, but it's just about feeling welcome. And like I said, 10's a good number to start with. So I know the Rowitts and that. I talk to Andrew down there quite regularly, and I know they're, really keen to get heaps of cars down there to help, their club and, also help, their less scene grow down there. So I think it is, it's kind of like the wingless. I suppose there's all them guys that sort of stick together. I think it's kind of like this. It'll be them guys that are all going to stick together and help each other. And if one travels away, I'd say a couple will go, you know what I'm saying? So that you can all bounce ideas and, feedback off each other, I suppose, because everyone's, like you said, everyone's going to be learning. No one's actually done it. So I don't think there's going to be anyone that's got more experience than the other in the way of, the way the cars are. So not in SA.
Nah, yeah, I think you've got good people there involved. Like you got Brownie there, and like Luke was saying last night, it's got Corey and Matt are going to be helping out on that, and it's like there's just good people involved with it from the get go.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, like you said, you got Corey and Matt and, people like that, are going to be involved in it. You've got people, that have got experience that can then help, the guys that are learning. This deal, you're not going to have a guy that's getting paid to be a crew chief. Essentially, you're going to have, guys that are going there to, help and be mates, and it's still going to have that serious tone to it, but at the same time, it's still going to be that fun sort of thing because it's not, everyone's going to be learning and wanting to help each other too. So, no, I think I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome fun. I think that's for sure.
So the one thing I noticed like this year with your wingless and your truck and that, like your presentation is like outstanding. So I'm assuming you've carried that over to the sprint car as well.
Yeah, so basically that's the next step on the car. We've just sort of gone through. We've got a couple of new sponsors on board this year, which is cool. Got a couple of guys that were on with us last year. Me and Reese sort of merged what we had. We sort of separate, and then we sort of merged what we had together, which is that's helped heaps. Like he's got a lot of experience, and Reese is very good on the spanner. That was the thing when we did the wingless thing. He sort of understands and he knows what I'm saying when I feel and whatever else. So, and the sponsors, that's where we're at now. We've just finalised sort of a few that we've, the extra ones. So that's where we're at now is the sprint car design sort of getting done. We're sort of sticking similar to the wingless of what we've got at the moment. But yeah, we pride ourselves on, I don't know, presentation's key, your branding and you're representing, people. It's not just we don't look at it as, they sponsor us. We look at it as we got to give something to them. So, a few of the guys are hot on, they're watching play per view, they're watching, our posts on Facebook, like once we've posted something, they're texting us or ringing us an hour later, to say, oh, that's awesome. Or, we really interact with the people we got on board. Because I mean that's a huge part of it you know, is having good people backing you. Because financially, I mean, it is a hit, but yeah, presentation for us, that's one big thing that I don't know. I suppose you gotta really prioritize that, it's what represents what you're branding to, I suppose the world really.
Yeah. Does that sort of stuff carry over from your businesses?
Oh yeah, like I'm yeah, very fussy, got a lot of OCD. So honestly, like everything's gotta be clean and crisp and sign written, and I'm a big fan of, tire shine and just making stuff, cleaning stuff, and like people will come into my workshops, or reps will come through and they're like, far out, this is one of the cleanest crash shops we've been through. Or and that's same with our race shed. Everything's there. Each car's got a rack, of what's for that car. Or our truck's the same. It's we're just sort of finishing branding and labeling and doing all that stuff. Everything's sort of got to have its place. I don't know. It's just being organised. I don't know. I like to be organised. I like to know what's going on. And, in the heat of the night, if you've got everything organised and everything's branded and, people know where it is, or if you're in a rush, it just makes things easier. So, I don't know. I'm just super fussy, and that's a big thing, like the three cars we got sitting in the shed, they're all the exact same. They got everything's the same. They've got to be the same, and it's the same to work on. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Presentation's everything. I believe. If that's sort of a bit of success behind what I suppose we do as a business and as a race team.
So, are you a spray painter or a panel beater?
Panel beater by trade, yeah.
Yeah.
So just sort of it was one of them things, sort of when I was growing up, everyone sort of said you can be a spray painter and a beater. Sorry, you can be a spray painter first, but you won't really learn how to panel beat. So, and then I sort of did my trade, and then I just sort of picked it up and started painting stuff, and then before you know it, here you are, you're painting cars, and yeah. So nah, it's I don't know. It's probably where I get my finesse for being fussy and all of that for is if every car you repair it, and when you're painting it you can see what sort of job you've done straight away off the gun. So I think that's sort of where it comes from.
Yeah. So I'm a spray painter. So I did my time in an Italian crash shop, and like
Yeah, yeah,
I know what you're saying about like clean and stuff labeled, and yeah, like yeah,
yeah. You do like that's the thing, like our spray booths are like 7 years old now, but they still look like they were put in 12, 18 months ago because they're just clean, they're looked after, they're big, expensive pieces of machinery. It's no different to I suppose it's no different to anything you do. I'm one of them people. If I buy it and look after it, it doesn't devalue as much. If you trash it within 12 months, well, you're not going to get any more use out of it or whatever. So yeah, it's just it's being fussy and looking after what you've got. I mean, yeah, I'm one of them people. I work pretty hard for what I've got and sort of done everything I've done off my own back. With the help of obviously my partner Carly and that sort of stuff. But like I said, it's hard work. So I'm not one of them people to sort of piss it up the wall, I suppose, if you say.
yeah, yeah. Because the I know like the crash shop that I did my time in, like there was no time to be like looking around for something. You had to go straight to the shelf and grab it, and it was like yeah, it's just the time and like the cleanliness is like everything's money and that. So it's like yeah, and it's
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 100%. And I mean, you're on schedules with, like with customers. That's a big thing. You're dealing with people every day, and that's the big thing is if people want their cars back. Like everyone relies on their car. So if you get their car in the shop for 3 weeks, well, you've got an unhappy customer. It's about doing a good job. And getting it done in a good time frame is the big. That's what we pride ourselves on. And like you said, if you're looking around for stuff and you've got a dirty workshop, well, you're going to have dirty work. So that's, the cleaner everything is, the cleaner the jobs go. That's the big thing that we pride ourselves on. As you'd know, in a crash shop, how, dust and everything travels, you just can't have it. So,
yeah, I can definitely see that like that correlates in your life between work and then unfortunately your fun time it carries over.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of good. Like I got my foreman at work, like he loves the racing sort of stuff. So generally like when I bring him through to the race and like he's just the same as me. Everything's got to be clean. He'll go around and make sure everything's clean. Down to shock shafts will be wiped with CRC and cleaned, and shocks will be wiped and bolts will be clean. And that's I suppose, it's a big thing, if it's clean at the track or a lot of the cleaning's done when you get home as well is my big thing, because everyone loves to be in the spotlight at the track, but then you've always got them few guys that are hustling behind the scenes, doing the, we wash every night when we get, on the way home or get home after racing. So, that's the big thing, it's easy to do it while it's at the track and everyone's not there. But I always say if you can keep it sort of clean as you're going, same as with the truck, keep it clean as you're going. Well, it's easier when you get home and between weeks, it is a lot easier when you're going week to week racing.
Yeah. So you've recently just upgraded your truck as well.
Yeah, we just went to something a little bit, more modern, just something a little bit bigger. So, obviously with the trips we've got planned, we're going to Darwin in the next 3.5, 4 weeks. So, we just needed something that was going to be a little bit more practical for what we're doing. We sort of planned to go and do the Australian Wingless title at the Motorplex. Sort of penciled it in with a question mark at the moment. Just depends on, there's a couple of shows locally around here, Mildura, and that we want to sort of get to. And it's just going to depend on obviously trying to juggle two cars at the moment, and sort of how we're going with the LS stuff as to, what we do. So, I know it doesn't seem like far away, but it's still, it's coming up quick. I remember we talking about Darwin, 4 or 5 months ago, and it's like shit. Yeah, we're here in the next 4 or 5 weeks. We're going to be up there racing. and then we're sort of busy for a month, and we get back and we got I think 3 to 4 weeks off, and then so it's just going to depend on what the schedule does. Obviously, we really want to try and do what we can with the the LS stuff. So obviously, 10 cars is you sort of want all 10 cars there, I suppose, if that makes sense. If we prioritize our wingless stuff and there's only 8 cars or 9 cars because someone else has got other commitments too, I suppose it's one of them things we really, yeah, want to try and push that if we can, and do what we can in that because, like I said, we got a lot to learn. We're not, we're not going to try and say we don't. We got a lot to learn, and the more shows we can do, hopefully, the more comfortable we can get. And obviously, we're starting from a book from scratch, so now we've got to build the notes up on this car and see where we're at and see what we can do in that. So yeah,
So, and like, because you're in Port Pirie, aren't you?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
correct. Yep,
yeah.
yep.
So you're traveling regardless of what you're doing.
Pretty well, and that was a big thing for me. Is like people are like you're crazy going to Darwin. I'm like, well, I look at I just put 10 grand out there as a figure, and I look at what 10 grand in traveling does for me. I'm like, I can, you know, put 5 grand's worth of truck fuel in and go to Darwin, and then 3.5 grand's of flights is what we paid, and we can do all the racing up there and a bit of accommodation. But I can go from here to Mount Gambier to Simpson or something like that, and I'm still $1,000 a week or 1,200 bucks a week. So to me, it that's the way I looked at it, which is appealing. Yeah, it's a bit of an upfront cost, but as well, it's quiet for us at the moment with all the cars. They're ready to go. A bit of sign writing's got to change on both of them, but like I said, we're ready to go. We sort of we built a new car after Reese's wreck at the SA title, so we built a brand new car that was a brand new Triple X car with all brand new parts on it. So and that car did I did 4 meetings in that. So, that car didn't really need much. As for the sprint car, it's all basically been sitting there ready to go. So, yeah, it is a bit of a drive. It'd be nice to have something around Adelaide or Malala. That'd be, we'd be there every week if we could. That'd be awesome. Like to Speedway City from me, it's an hour and, hour and 45 minutes, which is beautiful. You could run Wednesday night practices there or something, but hey, let's just see what it does. So, and like I said, all this, we'll try and do what we can. Wyler's the closest, so any shows they got on over there, we'll be definitely going to do them for sure.
So what's the bridge from Port Pirie?
The bridge,
Yeah, was that 3 hours?
up through the hill in the truck, yeah, it's probably more so like 3.5. So,
Yeah.
it's it's comfortable going there, but it's like the way home. By the time you wash and do all of that, it's like you're sort of stretching to I suppose, do everything within the night. You only usually get home. We've done it a few times at 3:30, 4 in the morning. So it's not bad. But like I said, it is a bit of a hike. And that's what I mean. Like by the time we go there and back, the fuel you burn and the time you burn, that's, you're already 7, 8 hours on the way to Darwin is the way we look at it. So it's, yeah, I don't know. It's just one of them things. When you look at it like that, it's it was an easy decision to go, hey, let's go and do 8 nights of racing.
Yeah, and that's obviously a big chunky season there as well.
Well, and that was the big thing that I look at. I'm like, seat time's crucial. I did 4 weeks in a row in the wingless, and I was like, from what I learned from the first week to the fourth week, I'm like, it was just, you couldn't put a price on that, and that's what I'm kind of like. If I come back here, I got 8 nights on, 20 other cars. It's 8 nights more comfortable than I am. Yeah, all right, it's not in the sprint car, but like I said, then hopefully we'll get our engine freshened up in the wingless when we get back, and then we can do a bit of the DLS stuff as much as we can. That's like I said, I think there's 10 to 12 shows penciled in. We want to try and do all of them, if we can.
Yeah, because like one thing I noticed, you're one of the only guys that had a mule with a wingless, which sort of seems, I don't know, for some guys it seems wanky because like you don't really need one with a wingless, but you've done that in terms of you're planning to go to the sprint car this whole time, sort of thing.
Yeah, well, that was basically just like like I said, I had the sprint car since December last year, so didn't really tell anyone. It was just on the down low. I mean, people queried the wings in the truck. I'm like, yeah, that's the plan. That's what we're going to do. The wingless is, just buying us time at the moment type thing because we didn't know, was the LS thing going to be this year or next year? We don't know. And then everyone sort of got keen and that's what it was like. That's when I seen the mule come up. I'm like, yeah, well, we're going to need one. Like, what's the alternative, you know? And then there was talk that a few of the guys went up to Toowoomba, I think, or Sydney for the WoW series, and they were like, "Yeah, we needed a quad up there." I'm like, "Well, what's the alternative? You're going to need a quad or a mule or something." I'm like, I can't see how you can get around it. So that's why when it come up, I was like, "Well, we need one of these if we're going to do this sprint car stuff." And that's what I go back to. Everything's got to be set up and as it's got to be because it like you talk to any team with a mule and even the boys they're like far out, it's nice not walking up to the back of into the back of the truck 100 times at a race meeting, it's just all right next to us, so I thought it was pre planning forward. I suppose if you like to work out, yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. So and like I said at the time, it was sort of there was sort of talk, yeah, people were going to build these LS cars, and I'd sort of sold my street stock and trailer. I was like, yeah, well, I mean, I was sort of keen. I sort of razzed Brownie up a bit at the start, and he's like, if you don't buy it, it's crazy. It's too good a deal. I was like, oh, righto, all right. So, and that's what I thought. Worst case, pluck the motor out, and we got another wingless car, or So I just didn't think I could really lose out. So yeah, it was just it just timed right, to be honest. And if it didn't probably fall the way it did, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. Right. So what LS have you got in that?
That's the 525, the crate
Yeah.
motor.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the I suppose that's what I don't know what a lot of guys are running. I suppose that's what that's what everyone's going to be sort of doing. I know a few guys are building a few of the LS2s, I think it is. So I mean yeah, that's what was in it. So that's what we'll run with. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a bit of a not a big mixed bag, but there's a bit of mixed bag of stuff going on there. Like a few guys got LS3s and stuff, and yeah, there's a little bit of variety, but yeah, they're all pretty much around the same ballpark. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's just the good thing is that you're still capable to go and build an LS3 to come and race this class, much like a wingless. Like there's plenty of guys that are in the shed building their own wingless motors, and this class has still got that capability. It's not that next level where not to knock anyone, but you're probably not going to build a 410 in your shed. Like that's into a serious piece of gear by that point.
No, and I mean, that's the thing. Like, that's, you talk to people and, like you talk about what stuff's worth in a 410 and you wouldn't even attempt to do it, because if it goes wrong, you're not just wrecking 12 or 1300 bucks worth of, lifters and this and that and everything else. You reckon thousands, and that's the thing, it's not, you look at what rebuild costs are worth. You're not going to try and do it yourself because you put yourself 25 to 30 grand in the red with a 410, some of the guys that buy these, 525s will probably go, oh, once it's worn out, yeah, I'll have a go at building it because it's not going to go drastically wrong. And if it does, it's not 25, 30 grand. So, yeah, like I said, I mean, I just, I think I can't remember what they were, but I think they're like $19,500 for a brand new motor in a crate. Like, that can do, I've watched a few videos from KRE with Kenny and that, and they're like, 3 years, you won't have an issue. It's like, that's crazy. Like, that's cheap, that's
Yeah,
$100 a night, engine maintenance. Like, that's, put good oil in it, good filter on it, and good plugs in it, and make sure your fuel's clean. Like, that's cheap. I just look at that and I'm like, that's cheap to go racing.
yeah. That's where like we were saying at the start, like for the higher end wingless guys, from what some of them have told me, by the time they drive to the track, as long as they don't tip the sprint car over and end up having to put a set of wings on the running costs aren't going to be greatly different from what they're already doing with their wingless package.
Yeah, and I mean, that's correct. Like, I mean, the Australian title at Mildura for the wingless was a big eye opener. Like, you go around and maybe 5 years ago, there was a few guys that were really doing it. They did have very, very good gear compared to what everyone else had. But now you sort of look and there's 40 or 50 cars in the wingless, that probably be capable. You could flick the motor out of the wingless and put, wings on it and a 525 and they'd be racing sprint cars. And that's what I think's going to happen. If your wingless motor blows or you need a rebuild, I seriously think guys are going to think about just doing it. There's already people that are talking about it behind the scenes or, when there's more out there, they become more readily available, don't they? So,
Yeah,
who's to say, a couple of guys might stick at it for 2 years and then they go to 410. Well, then more motors come readily available, don't they? So, I think that's why, you look around and you look on all the, the marketplaces on sprint cars and that. There's wings and all that. You can buy wings all the time at the good second-hand ones that, because someone's going from a dish top to a flat top and, to get into it, it's not stupidly dear. I don't think, unless you're going to hang it off the catch fence every week and you reckon, two or three wings and this and that. I don't think they're stupidly different in cost. Like you said, few of the high-end wingless guys are putting, valve springs in them every 5 nights and, doing this and that. And, when you start adding that up, it does add up pretty quick.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I was actually even talking to you at the wingless title that there was no dungers there. Like if you go back
No.
5, 10 years ago, there would have been like a lot of farmer spec cars. But like looking up and down that pit, like all the cars were presented so well. Like yeah, there was only like maybe 4 or 5 like junkers, and the rest of them are like they're all like they're incapable.
Yeah, and that's yeah, we did speak about that. No, I 100% agree with it, and that's the other thing, you go and look. I mean, yeah, we go on the dummy grid for the A main, and I think nearly every car out there had a near new right rear, if not a brand new right rear on it, and maybe even a left, So you start looking at what's there, and it's like, this is what sprint car guys do, they'll obviously, yeah, you're not burning them up every night, but you can still use that wingless tire for maybe another 3 or 4 or 5 nights, but at the same time, there's obviously money there. There's obviously money to be able to do it. So, I don't know. Like I said, and that was a big thing for us. We mentioned sprint car to a couple of our, partners that have been on board with us, and they're like, "Hell yeah, sprint car!" Like, yeah, we want to throw more in, and it's like, well, that's not what we were getting at. It's just like this is a path we're going down, and they're like, "Hell yeah, sprint car! That's what we want to be doing." Like, we want our name on a sprint car. We love them. That's what we go to Speedway to watch. So, and they don't care if it's a 410 or an LS car, and that's was exactly what I said to Brownie. I said their crowd up there they get is phenomenal, whether it's a 360 sprint car or a 410 sprint car. The people in Whyalla just want to see sprint cars around that track, and that's a big thing. If he can get 8 or 10 LS cars there, wicked. That's the big thing. Is just yeah, like I said, I think that it's going to really grow. Give it 12 months, and I think everyone will be like, yeah, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, well, I had the conversation with Brownie and Matt one night about like, it's, it's, it's kind of sad to say it now, but like back in the day, Speedway City had 20 plus 360s and 20 plus 410s on the same night. There's 40 plus sprint cars in the pits, So if we can
Yeah.
get back to that kind of stuff, like man, we're in a good spot.
Yeah, I think so. And like I said, I mean, there's going to be guys that are going to be starting out in these they're going to be capable to drive a 410. There's no doubt about it. Whether the budget's there, well, who knows? But like that's the thing. At the moment, I suppose the recognition of people are going to get recognised in these cars. And I suppose that's to financially go and outlay and get recognised in a 410 is probably going to be harder. But there's going to be guys that can drive these things good. And there's people in other states with money. Who's to say they won't fly them in to drive a 410 for a meeting, after they've got a couple of years experience, So, like I said, I think it just opens up a whole nother avenue, you know, and a stepping stone into 410s.
Yeah, because like if you're being honest about it, probably the reason why these 10 new lessons are there is because of the budget. Like I think everyone who's coming into it is capable of driving a 410. It's just that budget and that next level is just yeah,
Yeah, and
it's
that,
either not there or the extremities of it.
and that's exactly what it is. It's like I said, it is the funding of it. Like they do. Any race car costs money to get to the track, and then you go in the back gate as a team, and it costs money. And the expenses and then the damage. So I suppose it's one of them things. If you wreck a car or a set of wings over the night, well, at least you haven't just had to do $2,500 or whatever it is of engine damage as well. Like in engine wear. So I suppose, yeah, I think that's exactly right. That's why these things are, there's a couple of guys out of the higher end of wingless that are like, I spend this now. It's no different. It's probably going to be
Mm.
cheaper and, less work for me because I don't have to put my valve springs in or I don't have to do this or, so like I said, I think I'm pretty confident give it 12, 18 months and there's going to be another, I think you probably will have 20 cars in SA. Well, I hope so for everyone's sake that's already doing it.
Because I think the like a good comparison is guys from modified sedans, instead of doing 20 to 30 shows a year in a modified sedan, some of those guys have gone to a super sedan with the LS and now they're just going to run 12 shows a year because it's going to be the same running costs, but they get to go, okay, they're not going to do as much racing, but they're going up a class. Right. So it's, I think that's sort of where the LS stuff's going to be at compared to wingless.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a big thing, isn't it? Like a good modified now. I mean, I wouldn't even like to know what they'd spend on the motors on them things. Far out, they scream, they sound good, but it's like, geez, when you're doing that, they cost money. It's the same as a 410 motor, isn't it? They cost
Yeah.
money. So whereas like you said, you go and if you got a good ear, you can go to the track and you can hear a built KRE Super Sedan motor Versa 525. But if you look at them on the track, they don't actually really go any different. So you just got to look at the Pasco. The Pasco boys, they've been doing wicked in the, with the 525s and a fair few others are going over off the built motors to these anyway. So, and like you said, just do your 12 or 15 shows a year and do that for 5 years, and you still probably haven't even got halfway through its engine life. So,
Yeah.
like you said, and hopefully for the Super Sedan's point of view, that does happen. I know a few guys that are going down that path, and like you said, hopefully then a few guys in SA might jump on the bandwagon too. And we looked at that path, to do super sedans. The only thing that turned us off of it was the car count here, and it's like, like I said, I love, love winning, but also I love running fifth out of 20 cars every night. It sometimes gives you more satisfaction is the hard work and knowing that, yeah, we've still got something to work on because you don't really know where you're at if you're winning against five cars or, four cars or whatever it is. So, yeah, let's hope that that can build as well with this new engine package they're allowed to run.
Yeah. And then like the top three cars at the sedan title were all LSs. So
Yeah, which
it's just weird because the super sedan guys, they don't have any of this like LS stuff that goes on in the sprint cars. There's always dramas in sprint cars with the LS stuff, and it's like, yeah, we just need to get over it and let's move forward and yeah,
Yeah, I think so. Like, I mean, and that's what I said. Like these motors, like Super Sedan guys are using them. Some of the late model guys are using them. I seen like Warren Oldfield the other week. I think he had 3 or 4 different 525 motors for sale with different lap packages. I'm like looking at them. I'm like, they're cheap. Like you nearly just buy one to put under the bench in the shed for when yours is worn out. Like I'm like, they're cheap. And that's what I'm saying. They're becoming readily available, and I suppose that's the thing. The more classes that are using them, there's going to be more out there for sale secondhand. Like I said, you look at them, I don't know 100% off the top, of my head what they cost to, have them done. I think it's around the 35 grand mark, all bolted in a car running. But the motor itself is pretty cheap, and like you said, if you can buy it readily, they're readily available secondhand. It's more appealing for someone else looking in at the budget difference is what I see.
yeah, definitely, yeah. I'm hoping because like I think that the LS has seen a resurgence in the super sedans. Like, you look at how many are out there, and guys are saying they wouldn't be running in super if it wasn't for the LS. So hopefully we can see a resurgence and new people come into sprint cars using the LS.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like supers, I mean, they're an expensive car, like I think you're like 60 odd grand for a roller. So that's what I mean. You have to go and put another 80 grand's worth of motor in it. It starts to become pretty dear. You buy a brand new car and it's 60 grand and you put a 30 grand motor in it. Well, you're still out there for, less than 100 grand versus 140 grand and you're going to do twice the amount of laps. So, and not
Yeah,
have to service, not have to service the motor with an engine builder. So, that's where it becomes more appealing. It's like the LS thing with the sprint cars. So, I mean, yeah, I get the bit of, there's a bit of camaraderie in it at the moment with, 360 and LS and rah, rah, rah. But it's like, yeah, if anything, it's helping the 360 guys. And when their motors are, up for rebuilds, instead of spending 25 grand, they might go, hey, yeah, I might just bolt one of these in. They go good, they're just as even or, they're pretty well the similar same or whatever. So, Um, yeah, I hopefully that's the way it goes.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can get past that stuff real quick.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
That's over and done with, and yeah, and just yeah. No, I'm not fussed if it's 360 LS, whatever. Like, let's
nah.
just go. Like,
Let's
yeah,
get more cars on track. That's a big thing. Like, and that's what I say. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know. A lot of the 360 guys are running 410s and they just come back and do the big shows. But that's what I mean. Like they, they might not want to run against 10 beginners in SA. The 360 guys, they might just be like, oh, well, I'm only going to be the only 360 out there, and I'll probably lap them 4 times or whatever. But that's the thing. It might just be the 10 or 12 and in-state cars that come over. So like I said, hopefully it just all sorts itself out within sort of this season, and then, like I said, you just want more people in it. That's the big way I look at it, and that's I'll be helping whoever I can to try and grow it if we can. You know, like you are, and the Sprint Car SA guys, and in other states they're really trying to promote it.
yeah. We need it. Like, that's basically the end of the story. We need it, and if this is what grows the sport, well, so be it. Let's go. That's what we
Yeah,
need.
let's do it. That's
Yeah.
that's exactly right. Yep, 100%.
Well, I reckon we end it there, man. let's go
Sounds
on the
good. Yeah.
go on the high.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right. Well, can't wait to see you at the track.
Easy.
Yeah, I'm sure your car will be gleaming and well presented as all your stuff is. So, yeah,
Yeah, that's the plan. It's yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah, really, really looking forward to it. So, like I said, it's going to be anyone's sort of game at the moment. It's just going to be, learning for everyone, and there's a good group of people in there, and there's, even with the younger, I suppose I'm still young, but there's even the younger, dirt carters and everything that are coming into it. They've got good families, and good experience around them. So. I think it's going to be good. There's a good variety of people in there that are really going to help push it in the right
I agree. Yeah. All right, man.
hanging.
Appreciate your
Cool.
time.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Cheers.
All right. Talk to you.
Cheers. See ya.
See you, mate.